It smells like burned plastic in here, Rachel said, wrinkling her nose as she dropped the plastic bag onto the coffee table. The faded GameStop logo barely clung to the crumpled edges. Brandon barely heard her. He was already tearing into the bag, fingers brushing against the cracked jewel case inside. The disc was scuffed, but the label was unmistakable. Crash Bandicoot, the original, its colors dulled from years of neglect. He flipped it over, thumb tracing a deep scratch near the center. "This thing's seen some shit," he muttered. Rachel flopped onto the couch beside him, nudging his shoulder with hers. "You're welcome. Took me 3 thrift stores to find it." The PlayStation whirred to life with a familiar groan, the disc spinning up in uneven clicks. The startup screen flickered, the usual Sony logo warping slightly at the edges before snapping into focus. Brandon frowned. "Weird. Thought this thing was dying." Rachel shrugged, already scrolling on her phone. "Maybe it's haunted." The menu loaded, slowly, too slowly, the colors just a shade too red. Brandon hit start. The game stuttered, then launched with a sound that wasn't quite right, the music tinny and stretched. The first level loaded without issue, though. Crash spun into frame, his usual dopey grin in place. Brandon exhaled. "Okay, cool. Just a sketchy disc." He played through the first few levels, the controls sluggish but familiar. Rachel glanced up occasionally, unimpressed. "Looks the same as the remaster." "It's not," Brandon said, though he couldn't pinpoint why. Maybe it was the way Crash's eyes lingered a second too long when he stood idle. Or how the fruit crunched wetly when collected, like something softer than pixels. Then Cortex's silhouette filled the screen. Brandon leaned forward. "Here we go." The boss fight started normally. Cortex laughed, taunted. Crash dodged. Then, Crash stopped moving. Brandon jabbed the controller. "What the?" On screen, Crash turned. Not toward Cortex. Toward him. The grin widened. And widened. Rachel's phone hit the floor. "Brandon." The screen wasn't holding him anymore. Crash stepped forward. And out. Crash's orange fur glistened under the living room lights, damp with something dark that dripped onto the carpet in thick, uneven splotches. His muzzle was smeared red, still working, chewing, as his black eyes locked onto Brandon. The PlayStation's fan screamed behind them, the console shaking violently against the TV stand. Rachel scrambled backward off the couch, her socked feet slipping on the hardwood. "What the fuck? What the fuck?" Her voice cracked into a whisper. Brandon couldn't move. Crash's paws left wet prints as he took another step forward, the scent of copper and something rancid rolling off him in waves. The controller slipped from Brandon's numb fingers. Crash tilted his head, the movement too smooth, too wrong for something that had only ever moved in jerky polygons. His nostrils flared, sniffing the air between them. Then, "Whoa!" The voice didn't come from the TV. It came from him, guttural and wet, like something forcing its way through a throat not built for speech. Brandon's stomach lurched. The headless corpse of Cortex twitched on screen, fingers clawing at the pixelated floor as if trying to crawl out after him. Rachel grabbed Brandon's wrist, her nails digging in. "The door," she breathed. "Go. Go." Crash's grin split wider, teeth gleaming sharp where they shouldn't be. He crouched, the same idle animation Brandon had seen 1,000 times. But now the muscles under his fur bunched with terrible, tangible weight. Ready to spring. The PlayStation exploded. Glass rained down as the TV screen shattered inward, the force knocking them both off the couch. Brandon's ears rang. Through the smoke, Crash was gone. Rachel's choke sob cut through the silence. Then the ceiling creaked. Above them, crouched on the light fixture like some grotesque parody of a jungle cat, Crash peered down. His tail twitched. Blood pattered onto the coffee table below. Brandon's voice didn't sound like his own. "Run!" They lunged in opposite directions, Rachel toward the hallway, Brandon diving behind the couch, just as Crash dropped with a fleshy thud where they'd been sprawled seconds earlier. The coffee table splintered under his weight, wood cracking like gunshots. Rachel's scream echoed from the kitchen. Brandon risked a glance over the couch cushions. Crash wasn't chasing her. He was smelling the controller Brandon had dropped, nostrils flaring as his tongue, too long, too pink, slithered over the buttons. His head snapped up suddenly, black eyes reflecting the flickering remains of the TV screen. Brandon's bladder almost let go. Crash wasn't looking at him. He was looking through him, at something on the wall behind him. The framed poster of Crash Bandicoot 2 Rachel had gotten him last Christmas. Crash's muzzle wrinkled. A low growl vibrated in his chest, the sound warping halfway through into distorted game audio, the noise he made when taking damage. His claws dug into the carpet, tearing through fibers and the padding beneath. Then Rachel was back, wielding a frying pan like a baseball bat. "Hey!" Her voice shook. "Eat this, you orange fuck!" The pan connected with Crash's skull with a sickening clang. His head whipped sideways, neck bending at an impossible angle before snapping back into place with a wet pop. Rachel staggered from the recoil. Crash blinked slowly, then reached up with one dripping paw to touch the dent now caved into his forehead. Brandon saw it first, the way Crash's pupils dilated as his fingers traced the indentation. The growl cut off abruptly. He's laughing," Brandon whispered. The sound that bubbled out of Crash's throat wasn't human. It wasn't even animal. It was the glitched audio from the game's corrupted files stretched into something alive, punctuated by wet clicks as his jaw unhinged further with each shuddering exhale. Rachel backpedaled into Brandon. "He likes it," she breathed. Crash's tail thumped against the floor. Once. Twice. Then the front door exploded inward. Splinters rained down as something massive and purple shouldered through the wreckage, a hulking silhouette with familiar boxing gloves. Crash's laughter died instantly. His fur stood on end as he crouched low, a terrified whine escaping his throat. The newcomer cracked his knuckles. "All right, mate," rumbled Riperoo, pupils blown wide with unhinged glee. "Let's see how you like getting drop-kicked into a TNT crate." Rachel made a strangled noise. Brandon barely registered the damp spots spreading down his jeans. The kangaroo's fur stank of cordite and sweat, his boxing gloves crusted with what looked like dried cerebrospinal fluid. Crash backpedaled, paws slipping in Cortex's blood, tail tucked between his legs, the same cowering animation from the bonus rounds, but now with the reek of genuine fear. Roo didn't charge. He bounced, the ceiling light swinging wildly as he ricocheted off walls in a psychotic zigzag. Crash barely dodged the first glove, the second grazing his ear with a sound like a cleaver hitting wet carpet. Something thudded to the floor, a tuft of orange fur with ragged meat still attached. "Brandon!" Rachel grabbed his arm, dragging him toward the shattered door frame. "We need..." The house shook. Plaster rained down as Roo missed a bounce and plowed through the drywall. Crash scrambled onto the bookshelf, knocking over Brandon's Funko Pops. His breathing came in glitchy bursts, the same sound effect from when he'd fall through map geometry in the original game. Roo spat out a mouthful of insulation. He pointed at Rachel with a glove oozing stuffing. "You got any nitro crates in the garage?" Crash seized his chance. He lunged, not at them, but at the broken TV screen, fingers clawing at the jagged edges like a dog at a rabbit hole. The image flickered violently. Cortex's twitching body spasmed, arms reaching up through the static as if to pull Crash back in. Brandon's brain finally rebooted. "The disc!" He tore free from Rachel, vaulting over the wrecked coffee table. "If we eject it..." Crash's hind legs disappeared into the screen first, his torso stretching unnaturally as static consumed him inch by inch. Roo's glove closed around one ankle with a sound like tearing Velcro. "Not today, you ginger nutter!" The kangaroo planted his feet and pulled. Crash's spine elongated like taffy, his scream distorting into the broken WOH from earlier. The TV sparked violently. Rachel tackled Brandon to the floor just as the CRT imploded with a concussive one. Shards of glass embedded themselves in the far wall. Silence. Brandon lifted his head. The TV smoked quietly. No Crash. No Roo. Just a single, blood-stained boxing glove lying atop the PlayStation, which was still somehow running, the menu music playing at half speed through the blown-out speakers. Rachel's whisper tickled his ear. "We need to burn this fucking house down." Brandon stared at the glove. The leather was peeling away at the seams, revealing something glistening and fibrous underneath, too organic to be stuffing. A tremor ran through the PlayStation. The disc tray clicked open an inch before jamming, a viscous black fluid oozing from the gap. The menu music slowed further, bass notes warping into something that vibrated in Brandon's molars. Rachel grabbed a fireplace poker. "I'm smashing it." Brandon caught her wrist. The PlayStation was shuddering now, screws popping loose as the casing bulged unnaturally. The glove twitched, a full-body spasm, then lay still. "We don't know if that'll make it worse," he hissed. The black goose had reached the carpet, smoking where it touched synthetic fibers. The stench of rotting meat and burnt hair filled the room. Rachel yanked free, but before she could swing, the disc tray shot open with a pneumatic hiss. The Crash Bandicoot disc spun out like a saw blade, embedding itself in the drywall. It shouldn't have been possible. The plastic should have shattered, but there it vibrated, its surface pulsing with veins of crimson light. The PlayStation's casing split open with a sound like cracking knuckles, revealing glistening strands of muscle beneath the plastic shell. Rachel's poker hovered mid-swing. "Is it breathing?" The PlayStation's vents wheezed, the sound syncopated with the pulsing veins in the disc. Brandon's throat clenched as the muscle strands beneath the plastic twitched, a grotesque mimicry of Rue's boxing glove. The black ooze thickened, coagulating into tendrils that slithered toward the embedded disc like roots seeking water. Rachel's poker clattered to the floor. "We need to go. Now." The tendrils lashed out suddenly, not toward them, but toward the glove. The leather split with a wet tear, revealing glistening tendons that pulsed in time with the PlayStation's wheezing vents. The disc in the wall emitted a high-pitched whine, the crimson veins branching into fractal patterns. Brandon grabbed Rachel's hand, dragging her toward the ruined doorway. Behind them, the PlayStation's casing rippled, plastic warping into something resembling a ribcage. The glove twitched again, fingers curling inward as if grasping for a weapon that wasn't there. The hallway light flickered. From the kitchen, the refrigerator hummed, then revved like a jet engine. Glass jars exploded in the pantry, their contents slithering across the linoleum in unnaturally coordinated spirals. Rachel's grip tightened. Garage. Car. They barely made it 3 steps before the living room screamed. Not a human sound, but the PlayStation's distorted startup chime stretched into a 10-second wail. Brandon risked a glance back. The television screen, though shattered, flickered to life, displaying a warped close-up of Cortex's severed head, *alive*, his lips moving silently, eyes rolling wildly in their sockets. The disc in the wall shuddered, then launched itself across the hallway, embedding into the garage door with a metallic thunk. The wood around it blackened instantly, tendrils of smoke curling upward. Rachel fumbled with the garage remote. The door groaned open an inch, then stopped. Through the gap, Brandon saw it. The family SUV's tires were melting, the rubber bubbling into a viscous, purple ooze that smelled like burnt marshmallows and gunpowder. From the living room, something thumped heavily, once, twice, then began dragging itself toward them. Rachel's breath itched. Back door. Run! They barely made it 2 steps before the garage door exploded inward, the disc spinning through the air like a shuriken. It missed Rachel's face by inches, embedding itself into the drywall with a sound like a cleaver hitting bone. The PlayStation's wheezing became a chuckle. Brandon's blood turned to ice. It wasn't just mimicking sounds anymore. It was learning. Rachel's breath fogged against my neck as we pressed against the kitchen island, the linoleum cold under our bare feet. The PlayStation's laughter stuttered, glitchy at first, then smoothing into something horrifyingly human. The garage door groaned behind us, its metal frame bending inward with each labored chuckle from the living room. Before it gets out, I whispered, tasting copper. My tongue had bitten through at some point. Rachel's fingers dug into my arm, her nails leaving crescents in my skin. The refrigerator's compressor kicked on again, the hum deepening into a growl as the freezer door swung open on its own. Frost curled out in grasping tendrils. Something heavy dragged itself down the hallway, not the PlayStation, but whatever had crawled out of it. The glove? Cortex's head? The stench of burnt wiring and spoiled meat thickened the air. Rachel's gaze flicked to the knife block. I shook my head. Steel wouldn't stop whatever was laughing in stereo now, the PlayStation and the TV, harmonizing. The back door was 10 feet away. The floorboards between us pulsed, warping upward like something was tunneling beneath. Rachel lunged first, yanking me toward the door just as the kitchen tiles ruptured, spewing shards of ceramic and oh god thick purple fur. Rue's remaining glove burst through, fingers twitching in seizure-like spasms, the exposed tendons squirming like worms in vinegar. We hit the door shoulder first. The deadbolt held. Rachel screamed as the glove's middle finger snapped backward at a right angle, the bone protruding through torn leather. It wasn't trying to grab us. It was pointing at the knife block. The largest chef's knife vibrated in its slot, then launched itself across the kitchen, embedding in the drywall with a wet thunk. Blood oozed down the blade. Not ours. The PlayStation's laughter cut off abruptly. In the sudden silence, the garage door screamed as metal tore. Rachel fumbled with the deadbolt. The knife in the wall twisted, its edge glinting under the flickering fluorescence. Then the disc shot through the doorway, not spinning, but flapping, its edges undulating like bat wings. Rachel got the door open just as it skimmed past my ear, shearing off a lock of hair before embedding itself in the maple tree outside. Sap bubbled from the wound, black as motor oil. We didn't look back. The neighbor's shed was already breathing. Rachel's bare feet slapped against the dew-slick grass as we sprinted across the yard, the disc's wings whirring behind us like a deranged hummingbird. The shed's corrugated metal panels expanded and contracted like rib cages, its rusted hinges squealing in time with the PlayStation's wheezing laughter from inside the house. A single tendril of that black ooze slithered under the door, probing the grass blades with sickening precision. It's learning the neighborhood, I gasped. The disc embedded in the maple tree pulsed, once, twice, then detonated in a shower of splinters. Rachel yanked me behind the neighbor's pickup as wooden shrapnel pinged off the fender. Something warm trickled down my temple. Not blood. Sap. Thick and purple, reeking of overclocked processors. Inside the house, glass shattered. Not the sound of breaking, of something escaping. The glove's twitching finger was still pointing. Not at us. At the flickering streetlight across the road. The bulb pulsed erratically, its glow deepening to the same crimson hue as the disc's veins. The power lines hummed, no, chanted, in glitchy fragments of Crash's victory music. Rachel's fingers found mine, slick with sweat and sap. It's not just the house. Her voice cracked. It's the code. The glove convulsed suddenly, tendons snapping as it launched itself through the kitchen window. It landed in the azaleas with a wet thud, fingers already scrabbling toward the sidewalk. The concrete cracked beneath it, spider webbing outward in perfect hexagonal patterns. The polygons from the game's terrain, but real, the edges oozing that same black fluid. From the garage, the SUV's horn blared, a continuous, distorted note. The headlights flared to life, illuminating the glove's frantic crawl toward the streetlight. The tires had fully liquefied now, the axles grinding against a pool of bubbling purple. The radio crackled to life, spewing static and God that same wet WOH, but slowed down, pitched lower, hungry. Rachel dragged me toward the alley. It's building a server. Her pupils were blown wide. Using the power grid. The roads. The streetlight's casing split open with a sound like a spine cracking. Inside, something orange and twitching unfurled too many limbs. I tasted bile. It's rendering the neighborhood. The glove reached the streetlight. The finger touched the pole. Every light on the block went out, except the TV in the Johnsons' living room window. The screen flickered to life, displaying a single word in jagged pixels. Loading. The word pulsed in the Johnsons' TV like a heartbeat, the screen warping outward as if something pressed against it from within. Rachel's grip on my arm was the only thing keeping me upright. The glove twitched at the base of the streetlight, its fingers spasming in a pattern too rhythmic, keyboard strokes. The asphalt beneath it pixelated, squares of reality peeling upward to reveal glitching voids. From the house, a wet crunch echoed, the PlayStation finally birthing whatever had been tearing it apart. The neighbor's shed let out a metallic groan, its corrugated sides bulging like a lung. Inside, something threw itself against the walls in perfect six-frame animation cycles. Rachel's breath came in short bursts. "It's using him," she whispered. "Who?" The streetlight flickered. The glove's index finger snapped off at the joint, rolling toward the gutter. Where it landed, the concrete dissolved into a perfect, rectangular pit, a collision box. The TV screen in the Johnson's window stretched further, the glass thinning to a membrane. A familiar silhouette pressed against it from the other side, lanky, big-headed, one glove missing. Cortex. Not decapitated. Not dead. Smiling. His lips moved silently against the screen. The glove at the streetlight twitched in unison. His glove, his missing right hand. The realization hit like a bucket of ice water. Cortex wasn't the victim. He was the virus. Rachel made a choked noise. The shed door burst open. Riperoo tumbled out, or what was left of him. His fur was patchy, his left eye a glitching void, but the manic grin was intact. He landed in a crouch, boxing gloves raised, but didn't attack. Just watched us, his good eye reflecting the dying streetlight. Waiting. Cortex's fingers breached the TV screen, the glass stretching like taffy. The glove at the streetlight screeched, the sound warping into corrupted audio. Asterisk. "You'll do nicely." Asterisk. Rachel's nails bit deeper. "He's not here for us." Rue's remaining glove twitched. The screen tore open. Cortex has entered the game. Rachel lunged before the words left my mouth, swinging the fireplace poker like a baseball bat. Not at the glove, not at the TV, but straight at Rue's twitching head. The kangaroo didn't dodge. The metal connected with a wet crunch, his skull caving inward like a rotten pumpkin. Purple-gray matter splattered across the pixelated asphalt. "Wrong target!" Cortex's voice boomed from every speaker on the block, the Johnson's TV screen now stretched into a gaping oval. His fingers, real, gloveless fingers, curled around the edges of reality itself, peeling the neighborhood open like cellophane. The glove at the streetlight spasmed in unison, tendons unraveling into black cable wires that snaked toward the power lines. Rachel gasped. Rue's corpse wasn't bleeding. It was rendering, polygons flickering in and out of existence as his body decompiled into a cloud of crimson error messages. The smell of ozone and rotting bananas choked the air. I grabbed the poker from her limp hands. Cortex's head emerged through the TV screen, his neck elongating like taffy, 10 feet, 20, until his face hovered above us, close enough to see the individual pixels in his leer. His breath stank of corrupted save files. "Kill it now," I rasped. Rachel moved. Not toward Cortex. Toward the glove. Her bare foot came down on its twitching fingers with a sound like snapping HDMI cables. The streetlight exploded in a shower of sparks, the entire block shuddering as the pavement dissolved into a grid of collision-less void. Cortex screamed, a sound that started human and ended as dial-up static. His stretching neck recoiled like a snapped rubber band, his head bouncing off the inside of the TV screen before popping like a water balloon. Globs of pixelated gore rained down, sizzling where they hit the disintegrating concrete. The glove went limp. The power lines fell silent. For 3 terrible seconds, nothing happened. Then the glove shuddered, not dying, but rebooting. The leather split open like a seed pod, revealing fresh tendons woven from glowing green code. The streetlight's shattered remains pulsed once, twice, before reconstructing itself in perfect low-poly models. Rachel's whisper cut through the ringing in my ears. "Checkpoint!" The glove's new fingers twitched. Up. Down. Left. Right. Cortex's laugh echoed from the sewer grates. The fight wasn't over. The game had just reloaded. Rachel's breath hitched as the glove's reborn fingers twitched in that unmistakable pattern. Up, down, left, right. The same sequence you'd hammer into a PlayStation controller after dying too many times. The asphalt beneath us flickered between reality and low-res textures, the sewer grates vibrating with Cortex's glitched laughter. I grabbed a jagged piece of the shattered streetlight. "One more hit," I whispered. The glove was already regenerating, its new tendons pulsing with emerald code, but Rachel saw it too. The weak point. Where the leather met the first knuckle, a single pixel out of place. We struck together. The metal pipe and a chunk of concrete smashed into the glove's flaw with a sound like a CRT imploding. The rebound sent us sprawling into the pixelated void, but not before I saw it. The way the corruption spiderwebbed up the glove's arm, Cortex's scream stuttering into a dial-up screech as his reboot failed. The neighborhood snapped back into focus with a sound like a disc tray ejecting. The glove dissolved into a puddle of black static. The streetlight stabilized. Somewhere, a PlayStation power button clicked off. Rachel's fingers found mine in the grass, slick with sweat and something that smelled suspiciously of burnt marshmallows. We didn't speak. Didn't need to. The pre-dawn light revealed the truth. No bloodstains, no fur tufts, just a cracked copy of Crash Bandicoot lying innocently in the wreckage of our living room. Then the neighbor's dog barked. Just once. From inside its shed. Rachel's grip tightened. The barking stuttered, 6 perfect repetitions, like a sound file on loop. I reached for the lighter in my pocket. "Burn the whole block down?" she asked, voice steady. I thumbed the wheel. The flame reflected in her eyes. "Save points don't work on fire." The shed door creaked open behind us. We didn't look back.